All right, everybody, it is time for that week in review, our flagship show here on the WWE podcast as we creep a little bit closer to Hell in a Cell in just 3 weeks' time. And we're going to cover a wide range of topics, as always, with Kevin Owens jumping into the Intercontinental title picture, Kofi Kingston and Drew McIntyre battling it out to see who will face Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship, Reginald somehow being targeted by Alexa Bliss, Seth Rollins cutting a decent promo on Cesaro this past week, and Michael Cole labels the Usos an upset victory on SmackDown. Yep, we're going to get to that and a ton more right after this. So here's a fun fact. Obviously, we love wrestling here, but I'm also equally into UFOs and Bigfoot and Loch Ness. And I ran across a podcast that does an awesome job of covering cryptids like Bigfoot and Loch Ness. It's a podcast called Cornfield, Wisconsin. The hosts are Aaron, Gabby, and Ward, and they are a weekly podcast. They talk about cryptids like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, and they usually talk about the ones that are native to Wisconsin, but also have a bi-weekly special, NOSIV, or also known as North American Stay-at-Home Vacation. It's a fun-fueled ride with laid-back friends on a Friday night where they try to stay on topic and tell you fun facts about each state. Ward always has some sad facts to tell you just to even it out. They love tangents and relating to real life almost as much as they like talking about the topics. You can find them on your favorite podcast platform. So please visit fiddlerandshoots.com. That's fiddlerandshoots.com to learn more.
Do you enjoy watching movies? Yes! Do you like to hear other people's opinions on movies?
Yes!
And do you find that you don't always have the time to listen to an entire podcast about one movie?
Yes!
Well, then you might enjoy my new podcast, Living for the Cinema. My reviews cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of what makes each film unique, but in less than 15 minutes. Check out Living for the Cinema on all platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Google, and anywhere else podcasts are available.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis. Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
Hey guys, and welcome to the WWE Podcast. It is Sunday, May 30th, 2021. I almost said 2019. I don't know, guys. Don't ask me. It is 2021, so regardless of what I say, don't believe me. Hope you're all doing well here on this Sunday night, this Memorial Day weekend. And whatever you may be doing, I hope it was fun, or maybe the fun is still yet to come, as tomorrow is Memorial Day itself. I know that up here in upstate New York, it is miserable. I mean, that's putting it lightly. We've had rain, 40s. I mean, I'm not going to give you the weather report here, but almost into June, and it's 10 degrees cooler. It could be snowing. I mean, that's all you need to know about how awful it has been the last few days, but at some point the calendar will rear its ugly head, and we'll be into the hot, humid weather, and we'll all complain that it's too hot and humid. So it's kind of the way things go. So I hope you're all doing well here on this Memorial Day weekend, and sitting back and having a cold one, and maybe listening to this show. Not a bad way to spend your weekend. I'm sure that that many of you designed your weekend around this show. Of course, I'm being extremely facetious and sarcastic, but if you are catching us before Memorial Day, hope you're doing well, and your families and friends. So, okay, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, we're going to get to that. On these weekend reviews, we do tend to more heavily focus on SmackDown, and yes, we have Michael Ritter, who does an excellent job covering SmackDown. But you don't get to hear my perspective and typically another co-host's perspective on SmackDown. And I'm riding solo tonight at my own disposal. My schedule is just wacko tonight, so which is why I don't have a co-host. So you're gonna have to deal with my voice for the next hour or so. Hope that's okay. But apparently, some of you sleep while you're listening to this show. I I don't know if that's a compliment. I guess I'll take it as a compliment. And if you're listening to the show, then that helps our ratings and our rankings. So I don't care if you use this to sleep or actually listen to. I guess it doesn't matter. The fact is you're listening, and I do appreciate it. But if you want those ads removed, pesky ads, people have been asking me, oh, you know, you have too many ads. Well, here's a way to get rid of it. Head on over to patreon.com and /WWE podcast, or just search out the WWE podcast. And for $1, our entire library is ad free. All of it. So that's not bad. And you also get an exclusive Wrestling Nostalgia show that is not available on the wrestling feed or normal wrestling WWE podcast feed. And this past week, we did HBK versus John Cena at WrestleMania 23. That was exclusive to Patreon members. And we also have a What If segment that Anthony DeMarco and I do. It's covered every single week, usually sometime on the weekend. We try to aim for Saturdays, not always the case, but we've done what if Austin never got injured? What if The Rock didn't go Hollywood? What if, and this is this past week, what if the brand split never happened in WWE? So that was a really fun topic to go over, and Anthony and I break that down, and for about 40 minutes or so, cover the good and the bad. Mostly bad, if that didn't happen. So despite WWE and their incessant inability to follow their own draft rules, generally we found it positive. The positive effect of the draft is what ultimately matters. It was a net gain, in other words. So check that out on Patreon if you're interested for the Raw tier and higher. You guys can check that out. So all right, well let's move into the week in review, because there is going to be quite a bit to get to here. And yes, you heard my Raw review, you know, and SmackDown was done very nicely by Michael Ritter. Go check out his show. But let's see what pops into my head. 3, 2, 1, Jimmy and Jey Uso popped into my head. Now, with Jimmy and Jey Uso, I think most of us understand where this story is going. I think the majority of us understand that Jimmy Uso is not a means to an end. He's not the guy that WWE is looking towards to be that next main eventer to headline with Roman Reigns. I don't think that that's the way they're looking at it. I think most of us are smart enough to know that it's going to be Jimmy Uso who initially revolts. He tries to get Jey to be torn away from Roman. We saw that this past week, where Jimmy and Jey were doing their own thing. Roman didn't like it because they were, you know, not focused on helping him or whatever, attentive or being his servant, whatever it may be. And it seems as if Jimmy's trying to bring back Jey to who he knows he is. And I think this will ultimately fail. And Jimmy may face Roman. You know, he may face Roman at Hell in a Cell for that championship. It doesn't look like anybody else has stepped up anyway, so that's probably going to be the case. And we have a failed Jimmy Uso attempt, and the repercussions are that Jimmy has to fall in line if he loses and acknowledge Roman Reigns, and he will. And then we'll get the bloodline, and we can move on. This is not going to be Jimmy Uso's coming out party, if you know what I mean. It's certainly giving him more spotlight than he would otherwise have gotten to this point. And to Roman's point, Jey doesn't want to go back, or he said that he doesn't want to send Jey back to the point where, hey, people are going to come up to you and ask, now which one are you? See, the problem with that narrative, though, is while it was true at one point, they now look different. Instead of, you know, having matching outfits, matching haircuts, you can tell who's who now. So, and also Jey Uso has had a hell of a 6 months. He is main event Uso. I mean, main event Jey Uso. He truly is. He has made a name for himself. They talk different. You can see the differences now, whereas before they were just carbon copies of one another. So that narrative that Roman's spewing, it's insulting. It was true. However, it is now at the point where that is no longer the case. But but still a good point for Roman or any heel to bring up. I'm not knocking what Roman Reigns said. It's a good point to bring up. So, the other thing is, what is the end game for Roman, right? Jimmy's a nice distraction. I think this is a nice storyline. It's a struggle of loyalty. It's a struggle of power, mind games, all that kind of stuff. The famous old mind games. Apparently, every program, according to WWE, is about mind games. I mean, they say that almost as much as they say the words message or statement. So it's right up there. But what is the end game for WWE or for Roman Reigns in WWE right now in the short term, 3 to 6 months? Well, I think ultimately, does it lead to a massive match at SummerSlam? It could. And the rumors have been flying about that it could be John Cena who ends up taking that role against Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. That would be a hell of a match. Now, I understand we've seen them before. I believe it was at, what the hell pay-per-view was it? I can't remember. It was like 3-4 years ago when, and I actually tweeted this out before, that the match that they had was, I mean, in terms of the promo between Roman and John Cena, it was brutal. The lead up to that match, John Cena carved him up like a Thanksgiving turkey. Roman got maybe a couple of little body shots in, but in general, it was a massacre of words on John Cena's behalf. It left Roman in a pile of just flesh, to be morbid, I guess. It was an absolute massacre. There's no other way to put it. So one has to wonder, now that Roman isn't in that forced babyface, big dog, tater tots character anymore, and he has seemingly found himself in this comfortable, organic role as a heel, would this be a little bit more of an evenly matched battle on the mic? One would assume, right? One would assume. I still don't believe that he would have a chance against John Cena on the mic. It would be much more fun. Roman would feel 1,000 times more comfortable, and I'm sure he would say that he wants a redo on the embarrassing moments that he had against John Cena in that promo where he lost himself and where John Cena called him out and said, "It's okay. It's called a promo, kid. You're going to have to learn to do it if you want to be the big dog," right? Something like that. It was absolutely embarrassing. I mean, you talk about secondhand embarrassment. So I'm sure Roman still feels that. And he'd love another crack, given the years of a few more years under his belt. That would be a massive moment. And I think there's a solid chance of at least John Cena showing up at the very first live in-person event that WWE is putting back on June 15th or whatever it is, in Houston, I believe. I think there's a very good chance. Now, is John Cena on board, right? I don't know. Or is it just that John Cena comes out, cuts a promo, welcomes us all back, and he leaves? It's possible. Possible that happens. There's no interaction. I think that'd be a big disappointment. And John Cena hasn't taken a bump in pro wrestling in a couple of years. The Firefly Funhouse, he took one bump. It was Sister Abigail in the middle of the ring. That's it. He should be in good health. The guy's always in great shape. He's a professional. And I think it'd be an entertaining matchup for sure. Now, I know we're fantasy booking here, but if this match happens, which I think is a solid chance, I give it, 60-40 in terms of 40% chance of yes, 60% no. I think that John Cena does not go over. I mean, is there anyone in this world who thinks he should? No. No. But that's not the point. The point is not to make us believe John Cena is going to beat him. The point is to get Roman further over. So, I don't know. Guys, let me know what you think about that. What are your thoughts on this these rumor mills pumping out this story about John Cena and Roman at SummerSlam? Or do they wait and build it towards WrestleMania? Maybe they just plant something in the July return and it rolls all the way to WrestleMania. Perhaps they do. I have my doubts. They don't long-term book anymore. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think. RealWWEpodcast@gmail.com, of course, or call us at 518-952-0247. Let me know what you think. That's a hell of a potential matchup, especially given where Roman is now. So, but anyway, Jimmy and Jey Uso, in terms of where they're landing right now, they're in a good spot. And coming out of the Backlash pay-per-view, the thinking was, with myself and I believe the Botch guy, go follow him on YouTube, by the way, great YouTube channel, was that this is a setup to get the titles to Jimmy and Jey Uso. And I still believe that. Because you don't typically, although it's not impossible, as a general rule of thumb, you don't want heel versus heel in any matchup, typically. So with that being the case, you have Rey and Dominic, who are stomach churning every week now, and I'll get to them in a minute. But Jimmy and Jey Uso are now in a nice position after beating the Street Profits, which they should have. And I do agree that it is a nice matchup, given that we've never seen it. And that's what's amazing, right? That how have we not seen this matchup before? At least not to my knowledge, we've seen this. Because there have been, so many different matchups with tag teams in WWE, because there are so few of them that we've seen every combination. So the fact that we can say, wow, I haven't seen this, or at least I haven't seen this in a while, is not a statement that you typically make when watching a tag team matchup. So they made a big deal out of it, and they should have. It was a great match, as expected. I don't expect anything less from these four. And we get the victory after a super kick, and the victory by, I think it was Jey Uso who got the victory after a super kick on Montez Ford. So I don't know. Did anybody else catch the fact that they were trying to sell it as a cheated win, or they stole the win? In what way? I don't know how they stole the victory. They were trying to sell it as that because the heels won, I guess, but maybe I missed it, turned away. I was doing something and I came back and I missed the underhanded tactics they used. Was there something I missed? Because I could be wrong. I just haven't rewatched it. But if anyone knows, I'm sure that you do, let me know if I'm wrong here. But I'm going to assume that there wasn't anything and the announcers were trying to tell us there was something underhanded going on. Anyway, the Usos come out with the victory. This is a matchup that they're going to drive into the ground, though, at some point. You can see it coming with how good these four are, that they're going to take these four men and just drill it into the ground like they did with New Day and the Usos. That is a matchup that at some point it's going to happen. But right now, the attention does focus, and the focus does shift, rather, from Usos targeting the Street Profits to the Usos targeting Rey and Dominic Mysterio. And that championship match is actually going to take place next week. Whatever happened to pay-per-views? The feeling that most title matches take place on pay-per-views. Why have we gotten away from that? Is WWE that concerned about the ratings? Are they that naive to believe that championship matches are going to be the solvent to plummeting ratings or stagnant ratings? The answer is no. The ratings don't show it. Even if they do, it's for a blip of a second. And then it goes away the next week, because guess what? You're offering championship matches every single week on every single show, nearly. Go back and look. I'm not saying every show, but for the love of God, can we please just once, for just try for a month, right? Can WWE just try once for a month? Just trying to reestablish the sanctity of what a championship match means, instead of just giving it away on free TV. And while I'm at it, on a side note, Can we get away from GMs or officials having cameras on them while they're on their cell phones? Is that the only way that they can think to segue into their next segment? Kurt Angle had it happen. Kurt Angle was constantly on his cell phone. Adam Pearce constantly on his cell phone. Other GMs, I'm sure Shane, I believe, when he was the commissioner of SmackDown or Raw, whatever it was, on the cell phone. Even Stephanie. Is this the only transition that they know? That they're on their phones? I mean, granted, most of us are on our phones today, like a lot, right? You see people, you go out to dinner in any restaurant and look around. Stand up and just look around or just walk by it. How many people are sitting, eating, or on their phones not engaging with the person they went to dinner with? A lot. A lot. We are buried in our phones, right? We are so consumed by our cell phones that we forget the real world around us, right? Like the internet used to be a break from real life, and now real life is a break from the internet. I saw that. I didn't just come up with that. I'm not that smart. I saw it in like a meme or something. So I'm not going to take credit for it. I'm sure maybe you've seen it, but it's true. Anyway, this whole transition, like who is actually recording? Like why as a cameraman would you feel the need to be recording a WWE official just standing there texting on their phones? Tell me. It makes no sense. And it also makes that, I'll just say general manager for a lack of a better term, official, look a little bit incompetent, doesn't it? If you're running the show of a multi-billion-dollar business, and you're just standing there texting, and you got caught on national television, shouldn't your boss say, hey, buddy, we caught you. Every single time the camera was there, you were on your phone. Shouldn't you be watching the effing show that you're running as part of a multi-billion-dollar business? I know I'm getting a little bit into the weeds here, but it is such a overused, and no one even thinks about it. They just look at it and go, oh, someone on their phone. And today it's so common to see that you just dismiss it. No, I don't. My brain doesn't dismiss it because it shouldn't be happening at that level on a national television show that this person is supposed to be in charge of the show is on their phone. Makes no sense. And why is the cameraman shooting somebody on their phone? How interesting is that? Is that the only thing going on backstage? No, see, I know I'm ranting about something so small, but to me it's not small. Okay. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And on the other side, I've got a little bit more of a rant to give you guys. I'm not trying to be clickbait or be controversial, but Dominic and Rey Mysterio is trying to really wear thin on me. So we're going to get to that in just a minute. But first, a word from our sponsor of this episode. So here's a fun fact. Obviously, we love wrestling here, but I'm also equally into UFOs and Bigfoot and Loch Ness. And I ran across a podcast that does an awesome job of covering cryptids like Bigfoot and Loch Ness. It's a podcast called Cornfield, Wisconsin. The hosts are Aaron, Gabby, and Ward, and they are a weekly podcast. They talk about cryptids like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, and they usually talk about the ones that are native to Wisconsin, but also have a bi-weekly special, NOSIV, or also known as North American Stay-at-Home Vacation. It's a fun-fueled ride with laid-back friends on a Friday night where they try to stay on topic and tell you fun facts about each state. Ward always has some sad facts to tell you just to even it out. They love tangents and relating to real life almost as much as they like talking about the topics. You can find them on your favorite podcast platform. So please visit fiddlerandshoots.com. That's fiddlerandshoots.com to learn more.
Do you enjoy watching movies? Yes! Do you like to hear other people's opinions on movies?
Yes!
And do you find that you don't always have the time to listen to an entire podcast about one movie?
Yes!
Well, then you might enjoy my new podcast, Living for the Cinema. My reviews cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of what makes each film unique, but in less than 15 minutes. Check out Living for the Cinema on all platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Google, and anywhere else podcasts are available.
Welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
All right, well, it's now time to talk about Rey and Dominic Mysterio. The good old feel-good story of WWE, of the first ever father-son tag team champions. Look, it's a cool moment. I get it. I'm a dad. I understand the significance of it. But do I really need to see them kissing? Do I need to see them hugging and embracing? And, I mean, really, a step short of just making out with one another? No, I don't. I don't need to see it. I don't care. Dominic is, like, in the ring, the dude surprised everybody. Congratulations to him. He put in the work. I don't have anything to say about his in-ring work. None. But his personality is as interesting as the water bottle I have sitting right next to me right now. He is so boring. Other than, okay, he's Rey Mysterio's son. He loves his dad. I'm sorry. What else do we know beyond that? Anybody have any clue? And so, yeah, how are we supposed to relate to this guy? Because he loves his dad? Oh, wow, cool. Does he like pizza too? And puppies? And nice warm days? And, like, what other extremely vanilla common thread are we supposed to glob onto that we can say, hey, you know what? Wow, I can relate to this dude. I mean, that's all we know. And, on top of it, he's not bad on the mic. He just makes me want to, like, fall asleep. I don't feel anything for his character. And look, maybe you guys are into this whole story because it's so feel good, it makes you feel good about yourself, and that's cool. Like, fine, if this is something you can actually relate to, great. I could care less, and I'm getting sickened by the love affair every single time these two are standing next to each other, with an embrace and half a heart on. I mean, seriously. That was pushing PG, wasn't it? But you know what? Hell with it. I'm feeling a little edgy on this subject because they are the most soft baby faces that I've seen in quite some time, and they're stomach churningly bad. Again, I'm not disrespecting Rey Mysterio. The guy is the most well-known luchador ever. One of the most successful, if not the most successful luchador to ever come to WWE, period. End of story. Hall of Fame career, bar none. And I feel, I'm happy for both of them with their ability to truly be father and son and capture the World Tag Team titles. SmackDown Tag Team titles. So it immediately cuts the value of the belts in half when there are two of them, but I get it. They're tag champions. Fine. And then on top of it, this past week, one of them inevitably gets attacked backstage by the Dirty Dogs, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. This week, it wasn't Dominic, it was Rey. Dominic says, you know what? My daddy stood up for me last week. Gosh darn, I'm going to do it this week. And he goes out and he does what he does. And he's good in the ring. Again, fine in the ring. And then, what's going to happen? It's the most repetitive formula. It's frustrating because you know what the end of result's going to be, which is Rey Mysterio eventually getting the courage to make his way out, getting out there, and then having Dominic get the roll up. So it protects Dolph and Robert Roode by not getting a clean victory, meaning hitting his finish. Which, by the way, what the hell is his finish? A frog splash, I think. How many times are we going to see people take that from Eddie Guerrero, by the way? I mean, it's every time we hear Sasha Banks do it, we need to hear about how much she loved Eddie Guerrero and he inspired her to be in the business. I mean, do we need to hear that anymore? I loved Eddie Guerrero, and I really wish I could watch him now that I'm much older and could appreciate him much more than I did. But I mean, how many times are we going to see the frog splash? It's becoming like the transitional clothesline DDT super kick. I mean, it's being added to that list. Very few use it as a finish. I mean, actually, when I look at let's run down the list of people that use the Frog Splash as a finish or a transition, just part of their arsenal. Kevin Owens, Montez Ford. We have, obviously, even Rey Mysterio and Dominic have used it at times. There's 4. Sasha Banks is 5. I'm sure I'm missing more. There's a lot of people using that Frog Splash. So there's 5 off the top of my head that are using it. And that's fine. Again, I no problem with the move, but either is it a finish or is it not? And if it is, nobody else should be using it. Okay. Boy, I'm on a hell of a freaking mood today. I'm not trying. Again, guys, I love the product. I'm a wrestling fan for life. For those of you that are listening to me that are new, if you've made it this far and haven't said, oh my God, this guy's just ranting, he hates it. No, I don't. I love the product. I love WWE. We're fans forever. You're listening to this show. That means you're a fan forever. Most casual fans don't listen to wrestling podcasts. I just am very passionate about a product that I know could be better. And there are simple fixes for things that I see on a weekly basis that can be rectified. And they just refuse to do it. Sometimes there are just certain things, a lot of things WWE has in their mind that they just are stuck. They will not budge. They think it's a good idea. They've got a formula and are hesitant to change it because they think it's the best way to do it, even though it hurts the believability of the product itself. They don't care, right? Production and people on their phones. There's a camera there. Why? I don't know. Shane McMahon's head gets thrown through a car window, yet there's a camera inside. Camera angles here or there where there shouldn't be. I mean, it's just, things like that. Anyway. I do have some good stuff to get to, guys. I promise. I really do. Some really good stuff that I'm excited about, including Jimmy and Jey Uso. I mentioned that, and Roman Reigns, who continues to just be his mob boss self. It's good stuff. So, we'll get to some positive stuff in a second. I'm going to balance it out, I promise. But, look, we all know what this is about. Well, let me get to this. Rey Mysterio comes out at the end, causes the distraction finish, and what happens? Boom, roll up. Got to get your roll up in. Guys, we got to make sure we hit the quota. And we did. And it's the distraction music finish. How many times are we going to see a distraction finish from an entrance on WWE television on a weekly basis? I don't know. I don't know what's going on with creative. I have no idea. I'd love to be a fly on the wall, somehow tap into their Zoom meetings or whatever and just listen. I just want to be able to listen to, what they talk about, how they talk, right? I'd love to know what's going through their heads as they have these calls or meetings and how it's presented to management. It would be fascinating. It would be absolutely fascinating. So, all right. So let's move on here. Something positive. Kevin Owens and Apollo Crews. Now, Kevin Owens, it was billed that if Kevin Owens wins this non-title match against Apollo Crews, then he could be in the conversation for the Intercontinental Championship. And much like Carmella and Bianca Belair earlier in the night, now Kevin Owens and Apollo Crews, I think, had a fine match. It wasn't very long. Apollo Crews gets the stunner. Kevin Owens goes for the pin, and lo and behold, Dabba-Kato, i.e. Commander Aziz, who I think he lost his giant Q-tip. I don't know what happened to it. I really don't know. Maybe they dropped that. I don't. I'm sure that it is it's supposed to be a replica of the Nigerian army's staff that they carry. I'm sure there is some kind of significance to the Nigerian heritage. So I'm sure there is, but I'm sorry. It looks like a giant Q-tip, a giant metal Q-tip. So I don't know. He dropped it, I guess. But Commander Aziz gets involved and, causes the disqualification, which causes Kevin Owens to win, gets backstage, and then immediately demands a rematch with Apollo Crews. And we have Adam Pearce, who apparently wasn't on his phone at this point, so maybe he was actually paying attention to the show, and granted Kevin Owens his Intercontinental Championship match next week. Was it next week? I think it might have been next week, as I'm thinking about it in my head, for the Intercontinental Championship with Commander Aziz barred from ringside. So, That is a match that I think is going to be fun. I like that Commander Aziz has not yet gotten his ass kicked. I like that. I think that's a good thing, kind of protecting him. Is, the only thing I worry about with Commander Aziz, Dabba-Kato, however you want to frame him, is that this is a short-term gimmick. This is a short-term gimmick because Commander Aziz, the character, is meant to be an accessory to Apollo Crews. It's not meant to live on its own. It doesn't have its own identity outside of Apollo Crews. Now, maybe they can create something down the line if they do intend on separating these two. But right now, without Apollo Crews, could you imagine this character surviving? No, I couldn't either. He right now is meant to be the heavy for Apollo. So again, as it's presently constituted, I don't see how Dabba-Kato, i.e. Commander Aziz, could survive. That gimmick could survive on its own right now. So I do worry about Commander Aziz's character beyond Apollo Crews whenever that relationship ends. Because again, it's so reliant on Apollo Crews, and it's like a leech on Apollo Crews. Without it, it dies. Because I don't think it has enough of a substance to stand on its own 2 feet. So we'll see. I don't hate the character. I think that it's good for Apollo Crews to have somebody in his corner. It makes sense. And I have no problem with, the gimmick itself when it's attached to Apollo, but we'll see. Maybe it does survive on its own. I have my doubts right now, but it's fine as it is right now. I don't want to change things. I wouldn't separate these two for quite some time. But Kevin Owens in the title picture, the Intercontinental title picture, is a good thing. Now that ultimately means, of course, that you will have Sami Zayn probably poke his head back in and say that he is the rightful Intercontinental champion. I hope not. I'm good with a one-on-one. Does Kevin Owens dethrone Apollo? Probably not. I'd say probably, but you could have Big E also insert himself. You know what? I really could see a fatal 4-way match again for the Intercontinental Championship at Hell in a Cell with Big E, with Sami Zayn, with Apollo, and with Kevin for the IC title. Now the match, what kind of quality match you're going to get. It's going to be amazing. But I will forfeit, quote, an amazing match because people are so focused on the athleticism for a story I care about. Because a story that is really good and you care about is ultimately more important and will get you more emotionally invested than will a, quote, great athletic match. And that, unfortunately, today's product is so focused on who can have great matchups together in the ring instead of what characters can we create that people will care about and be invested in. To me, the athleticism and in-ring stuff comes second to creating engaging characters, believable characters, because that's where the emotional connection happens. Without it, you're left with just athletes in the ring that are putting on a fireworks show. Meaning, when you're watching fireworks, and 4th of July is not that far away, is anyone emotionally invested in it? Of course not. You look at it and go, wow, cool. Next, let's look at the next one. Oh, great, cool. It's so one right after the next. And that's how I feel with today's product a lot of the time. It's like fireworks. It's not like art. Art and great storytelling gets you invested. Fireworks are superficial. And a lot of times I think we, as fans and WWE creative, look at the superficial part of it and neglect the soul of what makes wrestling great. And it's really this simple. Good versus evil, engaging characters, believability. Period. There's nothing left to say about it. And yes, in-ring is important, but if you don't care about the characters in the ring, the people in the ring, about who's going to win and lose, why they're fighting, then you're not going to care how great the match is because the outcome to you won't matter since the characters don't matter. I think I rest my case. So, I don't even know where I was going with the Intercontinental Championship. I think that's going to be a nice mix of guys, and maybe it is just one-on-one with Kevin Owens and Apollo at Hell in a Cell, assuming that Kevin Owens doesn't capture the belt beforehand. I don't think so. I think Apollo is going to hold that belt for quite some time, as he should. All right, and on to a little bit of Monday Night Raw. You know, I did talk about this in my Monday Night Raw review of Kofi Kingston and Drew McIntyre, and how much of an exposure of the lack of baby faces WWE has. And I don't know how else to really tell you guys that this is the case. I mean, WWE has Drew McIntyre, and then it's a cliff descending fall to Kofi Kingston. I mean, that's how they look at Monday Night Raw. I mean, yes, you could have AJ Styles, but AJ Styles is forgotten as the tag team champions, by the way, on Monday Night Raw. And it just goes to show you that either they need a major shakeup, do the draft early, do a trade, bring somebody up from NXT, bring somebody out from outside. I don't know the answer. One of those has to be the answer, though. The answer that it's not is keep things the same. That is the answer we know it's not. For sure. Because Drew McIntyre right now is descending quickly in the eyes of fans. I think he's aware that Drew needs to get he's aware of himself needing to get the hell out of the title picture. Unless you're trying to turn him heel, which Lord knows WWE doesn't need any more heels right now. So if the goal is to keep him babyface, you need to get him out of the title picture, not just because he's been in it forever, but also just for a character change, right? Just to kind of freshen him up. His promos are all about the championship. Can they not be for once? Can they be a personal attack? Can Drew show a little bit more range? It's been the same Drew for so many months now, and it was great for him as champion. Once he lost it, I think, like you, I'm over it. It's time to move on. And I think they hear that loud and clear, but they're also saying to themselves internally, of course, they'll never say this out loud. This is the quiet part, is, well, who do you want us to go to, guys? We really don't have anybody else. So what are we going to do? Just try to recreate Kofi Mania? That's what they're saying to themselves. Behind closed doors. They got nobody else right now. So Drew will continue to chase it until they come up with somebody else, bring somebody up from SmackDown or from NXT, or just do the draft early. I mean, that's pretty much it. Let's see here. Riddle on Monday. I know this is a week in review, but looking ahead, Randy Orton is going to be facing Xavier Woods this coming Monday night. So Xavier Woods and Randy Orton face one another after Riddle and Xavier put on a really, really good match on Monday Night Raw. I mean, I loved their match. Randy Orton returns to face Xavier, and I expect fully that Riddle will somehow make his presence known, and we'll see if Riddle turns heel or Orton continues to be heel. Again, I don't want to call what Randy is a babyface turn, because Randy is still the same guy he's been. He's just not in a program of somebody that's threatening his life. I mean, like with The Fiend, when they were in their 5-month long program. So there's that. But it's possible that Riddle turns on Orton. I know many of us are expecting the opposite with the RKO from Randy to drop on Riddle, but what if Riddle RKO's Randy? That's also a possibility. Again, AJ Styles, if he could get back in relevancy, which means just get back on television, and also not get cut from the Hulu version of Raw. A lot of people watch Raw on delay on Hulu. Hundreds of thousands of people. And if that's the case, and you're cutting AJ Styles from the that 90-minute version of Raw, people are going to forget that AJ Styles is there and that you have this talent sitting there and you're not using him. A world-class talent. You know, ever since they won at Mania, it's so clear they had no plans for him. And Omos. I mean, him and Sheamus are two prime examples of guys that they're just like, well, we got to Mania, we know what we're doing, but after that, who knows? That's exactly what they did. You know why? AJ Styles was off TV for 4 weeks following WrestleMania with no injuries, no COVID. Sheamus was involved with Humberto Carrillo following WrestleMania. I mean, that's essentially... that's like the bare minimum to be on a program. I mean, like, Sheamus was there to be there because he's U.S. champion, but feuding with a guy that has no business being in the United States Championship picture right now, Sheamus had to lower himself to Humberto. And there's no other way to put it. You know, no disrespect to Humberto, but he's not Sheamus in terms of star power and, experience in the ring. So, okay, let's see what else happened. I want to make sure that, again, I'm not doing a full Monday Night Raw review because that would be silly considering I have a whole show that covered that. But let's see what else happened that I can discuss on SmackDown. The Riot Squad getting pummeled by the tag team, women's tag team champions. And I don't know what are they doing with the Riot Squad? You know, I've never understood what they're doing with them. Here you have two women that never get to speak. I mean, essentially, they're mutes on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. I thought they were going to win the tag team titles at WrestleMania. Obviously, that was not the case. And it was Tamina and Naomi. Or Tamina and Naomi. Tamina and Natalya. So, I mean, again, two deserving women. But the Riot Squad have been an actual tag team for a lot longer. Not just a makeshift, throw two people together and hope they have chemistry. So, I've been waiting for the Riot Squad to explode. Be relevant other than just coming out and knowing that they're just going to get, squashed or, be on the receiving end of something bad, which has been their role for a lot longer than it should have been at this point. So, I don't know what the Riot Squad's about. I would like them to get a voice to start and not just come out and just be this generic tag team. So, it's bizarre, and especially considering the lack of depth, especially at the time over the last 6 to 12 months, the lack of depth of the women's tag team division. You would think that the Riot Squad would have at least gotten a chance, And every turn they lose. So Seth Rollins addresses Cesaro on his medical update and comes out in just another extremely obnoxious, hilarious outfit with his jackets and his shoes with no socks. I mean, it's hilarious. So Seth Rollins comes out and talks about, it's his birthday and he beat Cesaro down last week and plays footage of it and then plays audio footage of Cesaro in a hospital, which was just a weird groan. That wasn't funny at all. But Seth Rollins just blamed it on us. He blamed it on the fans. And for us to brainwash him, it's our fault that we brainwashed Cesaro that he could hang with him. And I think that Seth Rollins did a nice job cutting a promo here on Cesaro. If there's any program deserving of Hell in a Cell, if there was only one out of the entire WWE product, on-air product, Cesaro and Cesaro and Rollins is one that's deserving. More so than in Bobby Lashley and Drew or Bobby Lashley and Kofi. More than Jimmy Uso and Roman. This is one that's deserving, I think. And hopefully they get it. So, as I just, looked at SmackDown, the Riot Squad actually did get a voice. However, Riot Squad did it in a WWE Network exclusive. I'm seeing the video link here. They said they're forced to regroup following a tough loss, and they did speak somehow. I don't know exactly what they said, but so they're getting a voice on a platform that has a small fraction of the viewers that say, the normal product on Fox does. So I'll have to go see what they have to say, but most people don't go look at this stuff. Most people don't dig this stuff out on the exclusive stuff on the network. They just, either it's on the show or it's not. So for all intents and purposes, they might as well not even have done that because no one listens. I mean, like, really. You might get a few thousand views on that, but, it's not probably the most viewed clip ever, even if they put it on their YouTube channel, so. All right. But Cesaro and Seth Rollins, good program. And, I want to see Cesaro actually have some fight in him when he comes back. Have an edge to him. I need a little edginess. Okay, Shinsuke Nakamura and Chad Gable. But Chad Gable and Otis, you talk about irrelevancy. They're about as irrelevant as things get on Monday or on SmackDown. But Shinsuke Nakamura ends up beating Chad Gable, but it was all about the crown that Shinsuke stole. All right, guys, and you'll notice I sound a little bit different right now. It's because my mic died, so I'm using my laptop microphone, which I'm sure sounds like total crap. So I'm going to end the show here. I don't want to continue if my equipment isn't working correctly. It literally just died after talking about Shinsuke Nakamura. So, guys, I will get things set back up, probably get a new microphone, and I will talk to you guys, Tuesday night for the Monday Night Raw review. Again, I apologize for the equipment failure, but give us a shout out on social media if you can, and give us a 5-star rating review on Apple Podcasts, and consider going ad-free over on patreon.com/WWE podcast. So, guys, thanks so much for listening, and as always, I'll talk to you next time. So here's a fun fact. Obviously, we love wrestling here, but I'm also equally into UFOs and Bigfoot and Loch Ness. And I ran across a podcast that does an awesome job of covering cryptids like Bigfoot and Loch Ness. It's a podcast called Cornfield, Wisconsin. The hosts are Aaron, Gabby, and Ward. And they are a weekly podcast. They talk about cryptids like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. And they usually talk about the ones that are native to Wisconsin, but also have a bi-weekly special, NOSIV, or also known as North American Stay-at-Home Vacation. It's a fun-fueled ride with laid-back friends on a Friday night where they try to stay on topic and tell you fun facts about each state. Ward always has some sad facts to tell you just to even it out. They love tangents and relating to real life almost as much as they like talking about the topics. You can find them on your favorite podcast platform. So please visit fiddlerandshoots.com. That's fiddlerandshoots.com to learn more.